It's that second, third, fourth tier that infiltrated our government that we've allowed to be there.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. Another massive win for America. White House drafting executive order to begin dismantling education department. It's about time. Trump promised to eliminate the Department of Education and return education policy to the states in his campaign. Now, the left is flipping out. Of course, everything that's been happening over the last couple weeks that America is actually benefiting from, the left are screaming, running around like a chicken with his head cut off because they can't stand that finally America is doing what's best for Americans. Real quick, would you consider hitting that thumbs up button? You know, when you like this video, you're not agreeing with the insanity, but you're helping push this video out to more people to help spread the truth. In fact, here is Trump talking about how he was going to dismantle the Department of Education when he was campaigning.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. Yep. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst.
Yep.
So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states.
In fact, he made a very good point there that the people leading the Department of Education, radical leftists, especially under the Biden administration, they do hate our children. In fact, I'm going to show you how much they hate our children in just a second. Trump is sitting here talking about, he campaigned on this, by the way. This was a campaign video, and he is doing what he said he was going to do. And now the left, of course, flipping out, even though the will of the people elected somebody who said they were going to do this, and now they're doing it. But hear me out on this, just real quick. To further the point here, in 1978, America was ranked number 1 in education. Now, the Department of Education was actually formed in 1979, officially formed under Jimmy Carter. Today, America is ranked like 24th or even worse than that. I mean, it's bad. Now, a lot of people praise Jimmy Carter's presidency because he was such a nice guy. But what they fail to realize is just how many of America's woes today was actually started under the Jimmy Carter presidency. Case in point, DOE being one of them. Now, when the Department of Education was started, many Republicans fought back because they claimed that the Department of Education was not constitutional because the Constitution doesn't say anything about education. And they deemed it unnecessary and illegal federal bureaucratic intrusion into local affairs. Now, there have been attempts to abolish the DOE before, but unfortunately, Republicans, over time, over the many years that it's been established, we've seen Republicans just fall in line with Democrats and try to reform the DOE, try to make it better, just give it more money, and that'll fix the problem. For example, some Republicans tried to abolish the DOE in 2000. And in 2001, when George W. Bush became president, he didn't pursue it, of course. In fact, what we saw from George W. Bush was the No Child Left Behind Act, which actually increased the DOE's budget by $14 billion. And then that fixed everything, right? Now, the total budget for DOE back in the early 2000s was around like $60 billion. Today, the budget for DOE is around $238 billion. Astronomical numbers. Yet the more we see the budget for the DOE increase, the worse we get in education. It says here in this story, the draft order would be a step toward fulfilling a key campaign promise President Trump made to return education policy back to the states. And again, the left are just going nuts because of this. Well, you can't go nuts if you already were nuts. But they're just louder right now. I mean, they're always loud too. How do I explain this? The order, if signed, would likely be carried out by Trump's nominee to head the Department of Education, Linda McMahon. Some officials in the Trump administration are pushing for the president to hold off signing the order until after McMahon's confirmation. In the meantime, we've seen the education department get hit by employees being placed on leave because of Trump's executive order to end DEI. Now, again, DEI has no place in any part of our society, but especially in the education system. Laying off all the DEI people in the Department of Education is a good start. Now, do the rest of them. In fact, I love what Senator John Kennedy said. This guy is a hoot.
To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow.
And of course, this as well. Love this guy.
They don't want Trump. If he gets in there and he does what he said he's going to do and starts eliminating 2/3 of the bureaucracy, the machine, the corrupt machine, that, they always come in and fire the top people or replace the old people, but it's that second, third, fourth tier that infiltrated our government that we've allowed to be there. Department of Education, billions of dollars, stays in Washington. It seems to me it'd be easier just dismantle the whole department, send that money to the states, and let them decide and let the locals have a say-so. Honestly, how many bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. have taught a kid how to read in Claiborne County, Tennessee? Zero. But that's part of the machine. That's part of the structure. And that's why every 100 days we had another $1 trillion for the debt, and neither party has a plan to pay it off, and neither party wants to pay it off, because all they're doing is buying votes.
This is what people don't understand. These government agencies that try to tell you that they know better for your children. So the government must have control over everything. And unfortunately, too many Americans fall for this. And unfortunately, for a lot of Americans, this idea of having freedom in areas like education, just freedom in our lives to think and act and say what we want, First Amendment anybody, is like a foreign concept, unfortunately, because we have allowed the government to become so big, so bloated, and so anti-constitution in many ways. Here's the Department of Education that must have control over your children.
I am proud that the flag the department flies today uses government speech to express our values and ensuring that LGBT students, educators, and staff in school communities nationwide know that this Department of Education is for them. This month and every month, we are for everyone.
You like how she just straight up says it is the department flying it, and it is government speech that they can say and do this and shove it down your throat, whether you like it or not. Also, the Department of Education, which is totally not an indoctrination arm of the government. right, guys? They put out this fun little thingy. LGBT supportive school policies and practices help all students thrive. So now, this LGBT indoctrination must be a part of curriculum. It must be a part of every school. Every school must be inclusive. Not in like a way that's actually inclusive, but in the radical left definition of it, which means to still kill and destroy anything and anyone that gets in their way of total and absolute mind control. And they go on to talk about the mental health crisis and how only LGB indoctrination can fix it. Also, the U.S. Department of Education, again, they love posting this stuff. Everyone, no matter who they are or whom they love, has an equal place in our democracy. LGBT youth deserve an education free from discrimination and harassment. And ED remains committed to defending their rights. What does this have anything to do with educating your child in the basics of life, learning. This is not about educating your child. This is about indoctrinating your child. I love the way that Proverbs chapter 1 just starts right off the cuff. Listen to this. To know wisdom and discipline, to understand the sayings of understanding, to receive discipline that leads to insight, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the youth knowledge and discretion. Let the wise man hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire guidance. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. Ignorant fools despise wisdom and discipline. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And please, hit that thumbs up button. You know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.